Hello. Hello there. Welcome to the Earlverse. I see we've got some all stars in, in the stream tonight. Welcome. Just thought I'd do another quickie Earlverse. Short, tight, and sweet. And then I'll get on with the rest of my evening, as I know you guys will too. I don't think we have too many West Coasters in the stream. Richard Kish doing a drive-by. I mean, we got some real heavy hitters in the Earlverse tonight. Everything is good. All love in the Earlverse. Yeah, I mean, you just go short and sweet. I don't do these fucking 5-hour marathons. I don't know how they do it. I actually wish I could. I see, was it Melton and Win by Two? They do like multi-hour streams. I tap out after about an hour. But listen, we're all on our own path in the YouTube algorithm. So, I appreciate the ones who are tuning in. Yeah, at the Laugh Factory. I mean, who would want to do that? I mean, I like to do a nice tight 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, I know Chappelle one night did a set at the Comedy Store. I think it was like 7 hours. Like, that's just too much. Um, Bend over. Welcome, welcome. We can always use your homosexuality in the stream. We take on all comers in the Earlverse. We take on all subjects. We don't get trolled in here too much, but it does happen from time to time. And with no moderators in the stream right now, it's the Wild West in the Earlverse. But we're a small but mighty group. And we carry on. Didn't Eddie Griffin used to do ridiculously long sets? Eddie Griffin would do 2 to 3 hours minimum. So if you saw Eddie Griffin pull up and then you were going on after him, you would just leave. You'd still get paid, but just no comics funny after about an hour. They just drag on and they're doing crowd work, and like Eddie was high and drunk. Chappelle can, he's one of the greats, if not the greatest. But even him doing a couple hours, like, it's a lot. And of course, the fans are super excited because you get to see kind of an unedited and unscripted, the greatest comic of all time, probably, in the flesh. So it's kind of a cool environment to see him. But me personally, I do. My sweet spot is about an hour. Always want to leave him wanting more. What's harder, crowd work or jokes? Well, it depends on the crowd. Like last Saturday night at the Comedy Store. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I don't ask you guys for much. But last Saturday night at the Comedy Store, the second I stepped on stage, it was a super hot crowd. Like, they were in it to win it, baby. and they wanted to be entertained. They were fucked up on booze and whatever they were on, and so um, it was really fun and very easy. Um, and then in terms of like jokes, I mean, really, once again, it also depends on the crowd. Like if the crowd sucks, you could have the greatest joke of all time written and tell it, and the crowd's just going to look at you. And it's usually tougher for me because I go on last at the Comedy Store. I get the Kennison, Brody, Tripoli, Kennison, Brody, Holtzman spot. So they're tired at that point. Or it's the complete opposite, and they're charged with booze and coke, and so they're disruptive. They're heckling you. It's a lot of fucking uh, bad juju that you. It's either going to be tough with the crowd work or tough with the jokes. But I've been doing this for a very long time, so I'm pretty polished, and there's not much that throws me off. I have Queen on. It was my first TV show. It's a pilot that never aired, and it was called One Night Stand Up. And it's a dating show where the girl never sees you; she just hears your act. So it was the main room at the Comedy Store. It's completely sold out. I mean, beyond sold out. Um, Now, because there was so much camera and crew in the room, it was probably the back half of the Comedy Store was all equipment, so the crowd was really piled on top of you that night. And I thought, I'm gonna go dark. Maybe the girl will appreciate me taking a risk. And I had a joke about the Duke lacrosse team where it was like, "Hey, everyone, we all know about the Duke lacrosse team story, right?" And I could tell the crowd was tightening up already. And you could tell it was a paid audience, like they were literally paid to be there, so they weren't necessarily wanting to be there. Um, so I'm like, the captain of the Duke lacrosse team had a degree in mathematics. So if anyone knew 47 didn't go into three, it was this guy. Nothing. Only two people laughed. My friend Dave Taylor, who's a real dark comic, and Ian Bagg. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. And then I like just did some random joke about racism in sports, and what the joke basically was, the horses are black, but the ones doing the work are still white. Just bombed even worse than that joke. And I was doing so bad. I think after the third joke, I was like, "Hey, how much time do I have left?" So that was a set where I had a game plan, and it did not go very well. Is the curtain jerker? Well, I mean, that's also a tough spot because when you go on first, people are giving their drink orders. They're looking at the menu. They're looking around, so they're not really paying attention. I mean, ideally, like the sweet spot, like where a Bobby Lee would go, is anywhere from 3 to 6 on a lineup, because that way, by the time the third comic's on, most everyone has gotten their drinks. They're not looking at the menu. They're fully engaged with you. Like when I went on at the Mothership, I think it was like an 8 comic lineup, and I went on, I think, third or fourth, and the crowd was hot. I mean, it was really cool. So, and I had a great set. So you really want to go like on a 10-person lineup or a 8 to 10-person lineup. You want to go third or fourth, because by the time the last comic goes on, they've heard every joke, they've heard every crowd work. Where you from? Nice hat, buddy. So by the time the 10th person gets, but you could still have a great spot. Um, going on last or going on first. Um, you just have to have a command of the room, and Like when I go on Saturday nights, by the way, I'll be there this Saturday night, 12:15. When you're going on last on a Saturday night, you don't have a lot of leeway because the crowd's been up all day, probably playing golf or watching football. They've been drinking, went out to dinner, comedy shows. So, it's 10:30 when the late show starts. So they're tired. And, because every comic usually runs the light, I'm going on 2 hours after the show started and probably anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes from when I should go on. So, they give you a couple minutes and then they leave, man. And a lot of times, like last Saturday, it was a full room, so about 400 people. I would say as soon as my friend Jerron Horton, who had done very well, uh, as soon as he called my name to the stage, probably 30 to 40 people left because they just pick a comic to leave on. Doesn't matter if they're doing well or not doing well. They just pick someone and go, okay, we're going to leave when the last comic comes on. So thank you, William Zoom, as always. That would have been fun to be on the Gutfeld with the Undertaker. So maybe uh, here's the deal. I don't think too many people loved the Dr. Nova with a good Dave Taylor impression. You know what time it is. If you're unfamiliar with who Dave Taylor is, one of the brilliant comics at the Comedy Store. Someone who should be very well known, but, that's the thing in comedy. Sometimes, certain people who should be famous, they just don't hit, and, many people who shouldn't be famous hit, and Dave Taylor, one of the funniest people I know up there, but, he was almost into walking the room. Like, he would try and walk the room. I did not watch the WWF cartoon back in the day. Thank you for the plugs, William. Earl, what's the largest make of car you could park inside of Blue Iris? Probably. I mean, I don't really know if she fucked that many people. I mean, I think she fucked PJ Stansberry in the bathroom. But I would say the greatest wrestling family of all time. I mean, there's certainly the Von Erichs. You've got the Guerreros. Probably the Guerreros. They absolutely. And the Von Erichs are right up there. I mean, Kerry was great. David was great. I'm trying to think. I mean, you could argue Rocky Johnson and his son Dwayne The Rock. They're up there. The Andersons, trying to think. The Hogan family. No, I'm just kidding. I would say with the Guerreros and the Von Erichs. I mean, when you look at the Guerreros, you got Chavo Guerrero, you've got Mondo Guerrero, you've got Chavo Guerrero Jr., you've got Vicky Guerrero, you've got Eddie Guerrero. I mean, that's a solid. The Benoits. Where was the kid's tag team partner? Yeah, I mean, the Von Erichs, but, they were great. I mean, outside of the tragedy of the story, if you really look back, I mean, Kerry was, like a more likable Ultimate Warrior, and, you know, some of the other brothers, were, very good in their own right. I mean, they were the kings of Texas. They could sell out the Sportatorium, they could sell out Dallas Stadium. I mean, they had a Beatles, Rolling Stones, mythical-like presence in Dallas. And in the South, I'm trying to think other great wrestling families. I mean, the Hardys. I mean, I'm not saying, and the Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart, Stu Hart. I mean, the Harts are definitely up there, for sure. I mean, I didn't like the Iron Claw as a movie because I just knew the real story. And someone was like, "Well, Earl, it's not a fucking documentary," and I know that, but just like the way they kind of glossed over, the dad. There's often the Von Erich curse. What caused the Von Erich curse? And it's like, Well, the dad was, kind of a Nazi. You know, at least he played a Nazi. So, maybe that had something to do with the curse. Um, and then, they took some creative liberties with the story, like when the brother died in Japan, they in the movie had, that he wrote the family a note for, I think, Christmas, and it got there, and, like, he never wrote the note. It was just something they threw in, and, um, what was there some other creative liberties? And, they made it seem like they only wrestled, the Freebirds. I thought that, they coulda showed a match, maybe even with Kamala. He had a great feud with Kerry Von Erich back in the day. Or, I thought Bruiser Brody could have been in it a little more. Now I realize it's a story about the Von Erichs, but, Kamala and Bruiser Brody were part of that story. And they totally left out, um, the Last Brothers suicide because the director said, "Hey, I didn't wanna throw that in because it would have made the movie too sad." But, it's a fucking sad story. Um So, I mean, Ready to Rumble is a pretty bad movie, to be honest with you. Yeah, and the Ric Flair, he was horrible. Like, you could tell he was probably like he's clearly not a wrestling fan, but I don't know. I'll assume he watched tape of Ric Flair and like he didn't act like him. Maybe he got the gig last minute and he just said, "I'm not going to really look at what he does. I'm just do my thing." Um, So, I've been watching a lot of Chuck Zito's interview with Vlad. He looks really good for 71. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just thought it could have been better. You know, well, I mean, you could do a better job replicating him. I mean, I thought that he wasn't over the top and he didn't capture Flair's cocaine fueled energy. You know what I'm saying? So it just didn't work. Um, and the guy who played Harley Race, he kind of looked like Harley Race, but he didn't really have the nuances down. So listen, I gave the movie 2 ratings. I think if you know the full story, it's about a 7 out of 10. And if you don't know the story, you don't know anything about the Von Erichs, and you just walk in because you're a Zac Efron fan or a Jeremy Allen White fan, it's a 9. It's a great movie. The acting is very good. I like the guy who plays the dad. He's always in some of my favorite TV shows. But I don't know. I'm a detail freak. It's like the Motley Crue movie. If you don't know any dirt on Netflix, you're like, this is a pretty fun movie. But if you know all the details they missed or glossed over, it's like this movie sucks. Um, what are the odds Flair's drinking right now? I'd go 8 to 5, 8 to 5. Um, yeah, I mean, if you don't know anything about the movie, you don't know who the Von Erichs are. You literally just went in because you want to look at Zac Efron for 2 hours or Jeremy Allen White. It's about a 9. I mean, it's a good movie. The acting's good. The music's good. Um, but if you really know the true details of the story, which I'm sure that's not who the movie was made for. I don't think they made that movie for wrestling fans. Um, you know, and I'm not saying you have like a 20-minute part of the movie where Kerry Von Erich and Kamala are wrestling, but it just made it seem like they only wrestled the Freebirds, and they had many great feuds. And World Class Championship Wrestling had so many fucking characters in that movie or in that organization at the time. Colonel Skandar Akbar, you had Colonel De Beers, Iceman King Parsons, Gino Hernandez, which my friend Ryan Nemeth played, but he wasn't really in it a lot. I think MJF played the fake Von Erich brother, but he was in it for a very, very small amount of time. And I'm nitpicking, but I'm a wrestling fan. I thought Jeremy Allen White should have played Kerry Von Erich, and Efron should have played uh, Kevin Von Erich. Looks wise, but looks wise, they were all way too small to play those guys. I mean, Kerry Von Erich he was probably about 6'4", 250, 260. And although Efron looked jacked, he didn't look 6'4", 260. So, all in all, the Dingo Warrior, James Hellwig, Scott Hall, the Diamond Stud. I think Mean Mark or The Undertaker was Big Red, I believe. Abdullah the Butcher would have been, a fun guy to have in the movie for a second. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the Mr. McMahon documentary at all. It was just nothing I hadn't heard before, and they kind of glossed over the Mel Phillips, the Ring Boy stuff. They glossed over the Pat Patterson stuff. And if I were them, I would have waited, because I think when they were finishing up the documentary, the Janelle Grant thing happened. It's like I would have gotten her in it. But, I think anything that the WWE is involved in, I'm sure it was something along the lines of, hey, you want the WrestleMania footage? Well, we're not going to really bring up Mel Phillips a lot. You can bring him up, but we're not going to talk about it. You want SummerSlam footage from Hogan and Yokozuna? We're not going to really talk about Pat Patterson that much. You can bring it up, but we're not going to talk about it that much. It's like the Andre the Giant documentary on HBO that WWE had a hand in it, and clearly made the WWE look a lot better than they were, because the reality is they fucking dismissed of Andre the Giant like he was a fucking piece of trash once his body started breaking down. I mean, he died at 46, and basically they replaced him with Hulk Hogan. Hey, thanks, Andre, for everything. Thanks for building our company to get to this point. We'll take it from here with this new blonde guy, brother. I mean, I just think they could have done a little more to make the wrestling fans placated. And once again, I'm not saying you show a full 20-minute match with Big Red or Kamala, but especially with Kamala, they had a great feud with him and Kerry Von Erich. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of the Vince McMahon documentary, I mean, you really think Netflix is going to go that hard when they're the new avenue for Monday Night Raw? So, but the other flip side is you do these documentaries that are unauthorized, and then it's like, well, they have an axe to grind. Like the book on my Aunt Ethel, by this one guy. It was unauthorized, and it made her look like a piece of shit. And I was in the room when the biographer, named Jerry Oppenheimer, was interviewing my dad over the phone. And my dad was very sick at the time. He was checking out, let's just say. And, I heard him, Oppenheimer, oh, we're going to make your sister look really good. She's an icon. She's this, she's that. And, the finished result, which I think the book came out after my dad died, was a total slam piece. So I get, there's a fine line in the middle of unauthorized biography, but then having the subject matter have a say in the biography. Could you justify Yokozuna being let go? I don't remember why he was let go. So, I mean, I'm assuming it was because he just got too fat and couldn't move. Well, I mean, in terms of Elvis, you notice that, Elvis fucked underage girls. It's just what he did. Like, and it's like, you know, um, that wasn't in the fucking movie, and it should have been. It was a huge. He met Priscilla at 14. You think he waited for 4 years? Shit. Um, so, it's once again, I don't know how you can make a movie about Elvis Presley and not talk about his love affair of very young girls. It's just that was part of his image. Um, I understand if you're making the movie or if you're even better yet, you're a distributor, you're like, we're not having that in the movie. Well, that's part of his life. Put it in the fucking movie. And then you let people make their own decision. Um, my dad knew the Count Billy Varga, who was a legendary wrestler in the 50s and 60s, and then he became a referee in the 70s. I don't think they were fans. I mean, my dad would watch it with me, but I don't necessarily think that uh, he was a fan. Um, well, I mean, I think hardcore Elvis fans, I would say, hardcore fans are going to look past the sleeping with underage girls, just like Michael Jackson fans. We all know what was going on there, but Beat It's a great song. So I think Trump is. I don't know if she'll pass the confirmation, but I mean, Goldberg was a controversial guy. I don't think he liked it. I think he was very much like the Ultimate Warrior. I don't think he liked the business, but he sure liked the money. Um, so, um, Goldberg was, he almost killed Bret Hart because he actually super kicked him. Yeah, I mean, the Queen movie, I saw that movie. Um, I mean, Freddie Mercury, he died of AIDS for a reason. And they kind of uh, let that slide, uh, you know. Um, and so, they definitely, but I think Brian May had something to do with the movie, if I remember. And I'm sure he was like, "Hey, we're not gonna talk about Freddie being a sexual slut. We'll talk about the music." Well, the music's part of the story, but uh, Freddie Mercury's offstage behavior is also a part of the story. Um, most biography movies, they don't talk about the bad stuff. I know Todd Phillips for a while from the Hangover movies was very much into making a Hulk Hogan biography. You think they're going to talk about the steroids and the fucking groupies? They'll gloss over it, but they're not going to get into it. You can't make a documentary about an 80s pro wrestler and not have it be an R rating. But, if it's an R rating, fewer people get to see it. Blah, blah, blah. So, well, I disagree, Ryan. I want the whole that's it, but I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying for me, I want the whole story. You can't uh, tell half the story and then portray it as an accurate portrayal. I want it warts and all. Um, like if they ever made a movie about the legendary enforcer Bob Probert, I want warts and all. He was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time in hockey and a great player, but he did a lot of fucking cocaine. And, I want that part in there as well. Um, or I mean, they're not going to make a movie about John Cordick, who was a tough guy in the Maple Leafs and Nordiques, but John Cordick fought. He hated fighting, but he was good at it. But he only fought because of he was seeking approval from his dad. I want that in the movie too. Um, well, I know Freddie didn't care, but I'm sure, the other guys in Queen are like, "Hey, let's make this a little bit about us." Because most people would struggle to name any member other than Freddie Mercury of Queen. I mean, I could, but it would be, you can't make a movie about 70s rock bands when, there was no AIDS and like the unlimited sex and drugs and, the underage sex, that's a true part of it. Any 70, imagine if you made a movie about Aerosmith. Um, so, it's like if they do you guys are talking about Magic Johnson in the stream. I watched that Lakers thing on Showtime, and I liked it, but, they kinda glossed over Magic's pervertedness. I mean, he got AIDS for a reason. I mean, Robert Reed, yeah, if you did a Robert Reed movie, you'd have to put the bad stuff in too. Um, I gotta be honest with you, AC/DC, I don't remember the opening scene. Like, there were so many little things that bugged me in the dirt. Like, the one I think it was when they were auditioning no, the singer before Vince Neil, who I often see on Sunset, his name's Odin Peterson. In fact, one of my recent shorts shows him singing karaoke, but, um, there I think Tommy Lee in the scene when Odin was in the band, it was like '81, and I think Tommy Lee, the guy playing Tommy Lee on drums, had a Hulkamania T-shirt on. Now, Hulkamania didn't start till like '83 or '84, so that's just bad research. But like a little thing like that bothers me. Now, to some 20-year-old kid watching the movie go, "Oh, that shirt's the wrong era." Fuck no. But I'm 56. It bothered me. So, you know, I realize that not everyone goes into a movie theater expecting like more or less a documentary, but that's how I am. And it's just it's how I will see any movie. What was another movie? The Elton John biography movie. Kind of this similar problem with the Queen movie, where it's like, okay, they kind of glossed over. Um, I mean, Elton John is, a gay man who's been a famous rock and roller for 50 fucking years. There's some dirt there. I want to see that too. I didn't fear AIDS in the 80s because I wasn't really, I didn't have sex till 89. And so I wasn't really worried about catching it. Um, Yeah, I mean, shit like that, Doctor Nova, like, I never knew that. Like, you could've left that out of this stream, and I would've gone on the rest of my life not knowing, "Oh, that's the wrong guitar." I mean, yeah, the Richard Simmons documentary, like, that guy was a sad person in real life in many ways. Um, I wanna see the sad stuff too. Yes, he helped a lot of people, especially overweight women, even though Richard Simmons physically looked like one of the most out of shape people you've ever seen. I mean, he was flabby everywhere, but I want to see that. So, remember that 21 Jump Street AIDS episode? It was pretty deep from what I remember. I'm not going to lie and say I really remember it, but that was back in when you didn't know if it was a straight person's disease or most people just thought, oh, it's a gay person's disease. So if I'm straight, I can't get it. But then, when you had bisexuals having sex with people and, you've got, say, a gay man who has the disease and they have sex with a bisexual woman and then she goes home and fucks her straight boyfriend or goes home and, has sex with a straight man and then that guy gets it and then he has sex with a straight girl and then before you know, like, hey, everyone can get this disease. So, it's do you think the Richard Simmons movie will ever be made? I mean, I don't think there's a big demand for it, like, to be honest. Like, Pauly Shore would kill it as Richard Simmons because he kinda looks like him facially, and I think Pauly would tap into that, Charles Nelson Riley-like humor. Um, well, it's not a proven medical fact because Robin Crosby, the guitar player from Rat, died of AIDS, and he fucked a lot of hoes. Um, so yeah, I mean, in the '80s, like, I was around. You just when it first started popping, you you just didn't know. Like, at first it was really just narrowed down to cities. And it was really just a segment of those 3 cities, bathhouses in New York, Frisco, and LA. And then, people in the Midwest started getting it, and then, it was wild. I mean, there was a lot of controversy on that episode of, Jerry Springer when Scott Hall, Razor Ramon came out, and it's probably the best episode in terms of a real episode of Jerry Springer where, it's 2 kids who had AIDS, and Scott Hall, the wrestler, comes out in character. He gives, each of them a championship belt, and he kisses both of them on the head. And, people were concerned that Scott Hall might get AIDS now. Like, that's how fucking paranoid people were at that time. Well, I mean, I can't speak to how Robin Crosby got it, Chow, but he was straight. I could assure you that much. Um, yeah, I mean Tommy Morrison. He who knows how he got it. I mean, I don't think yeah, but Magic Johnson's fucked a lot of girls, Doctor Chow. So I don't think that's gay. I think when you're like Magic Johnson, David Lee Roth, any number of rockers, you fuck thousands of girls. Eventually, you're going to get bored and you're going to look at some dude and go, oh, why not? Now, to guys like me and you, and probably every guy in this stream, it probably seems unlikely that we would ever fuck that many girls that you go, hey, that guy's got a nice ass. So, well, you don't know that, Dr. Chow. Uh, so, I mean, we can't say none of the women never got it. So there's plenty of women have had it. I can't name one girl. I mean, I don't know these people. You know, well, I mean, the girl who was on Jerry Springer had it. I don't know her name. Um, well, I mean, it's like, let's try and that of Queen On. Trust me, I know a lot of celebrities who have deep, dark secrets. DUIs, uh, sexual diseases. So I don't think. Well, I mean, Dr. Chow, are you a real doctor? Because if someone's carrying the virus and you say, not you, but like, man A has a cut on their weenie, you can get it. Um, oh, yeah. No, but that Springer episode with Scott Hall and the 2 kids who both eventually did die from the disease. Um, uh, it's pretty powerful. Like you see Scott Hall going, "Hey, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna kiss these kids on the head," and you know, I mean, it's a very very powerful segment. Hey, speaking of powerful, why don't you guys hit the like button? Come on, man. Do a lot of LA comics have diseases? Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure New York comics have diseases. I mean, when you think of comics who basically stick their dick in anything, uh, yeah, I mean, I think you can pretty much like uh, are some people like there's probably certain segments of society that have a tougher time getting it, but like if you have a woman who has the disease and you're a man and you have a cut, or some kind of open wound on your dick, for whatever reason you would have one, you could get it. You probably remember when the last NBA All-Star game when all those players were. Yeah, I mean, people didn't want to play when Magic came back because it was still um, like the unknown. Like, what if he's sweating? And that's really why you now see athletic trainers in every sport wear the gloves. You go back and watch in the 70s when a hockey player got injured and a trainer. There you go, Zoom. Dr. Chow. Yes, Elizabeth Glazer died of AIDS. There's one woman. Uh, well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, ACDC, but I think, uh, I mean, that's a good point. And if a woman is carrying the disease, I mean, I never thought this stream would develop into this talk, but I'm cool talking about it. And if you have anal sex with a woman who has it, and there's a lot of blood vessels back there, and you get an abrasion on your dick for whatever reason, you could get it. Um, well, I mean, who knows how many, he's fucked. Well, the Predator, Kevin Peter Hall got it from a blood transfusion as well. So, I don't, uh, you got to feel bummed out for that guy. So, you know, I don't, I still think it's kind of there's still a mystery about the disease. It's almost like COVID. People are still getting COVID. I think in LA, there's like 700 new cases a day. Like who in 2024, almost 2025, is still getting COVID? You know, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, Dr. Chow. Yeah, but you can Google anything. I mean, I remember once when I had a cyst on the back of my neck. Now, this is when I had a mullet and played hockey, and I would, in our league at the time, we had to wear a helmet. So I had this like golf ball size, like literally maybe that size bump on the back of my neck. And I Googled bump on back of neck, and the first thing that popped up was AIDS. So, I mean, I don't really, um, you can Google anything. You can Google Earl Skakel and it says he's a funny comic. Hello. Good for you, Aaron Butler. Good for you. Yeah, well, you can die of COVID too. I mean, plenty of people did. So, I mean, I still think I mean, people are still getting AIDS, HIV. Well, I mean, I forgot who brought it up, but let's get back to AEW wrestling. Um, so it doesn't really prove your point, Dr. Chow. Like, there's plenty of, well, you want me to name a name like Susie Smith. I can't do that, but like, there's, let me Google porn stars. I tell you what, without even Googling it, you say women can't get it. Watch the documentary Patient Zero, and it's with the porn star Mark Wallace, who had HIV, and it's probably it's a great documentary, even if you don't like porn. It's fascinating that this guy was in denial. He knew he had HIV, and he was still having unprotected sex, and he did one scene with this girl. I forget her name, but you can Google Mark Wallace Patient Zero. And it was the only scene he did with this girl, and she later died of AIDS. And so they show the one scene, and you are seeing someone get the disease live. So I don't like porn, to be honest with you. Yes, you absolutely can get it from needles. You share needles, someone has tainted blood, and then you get a dirty needle, 100%. I mean, there's many ways to get it. I think John Holmes got it, but with him, I don't think you'll ever know how he got it because toward the end of his career, he was definitely sharing needles, but he was so broke and so desperate, he was doing gay porn as well. So, yeah, Ray Gillen from Badlands. And he was passing it around knowingly, kind of like Mark Wallace, the porn star. But Dr. Chow, check out that. I think it's called Patient Zero. I'm almost positive it was on Showtime, I believe. I'm sure it's on YouTube. And I mean, Mark Wallace to this day denies he has it. Like he's in complete denial. So, and he had to go get tested, once rumors came out about him having it. And, there's that place in Van Nuys where all the porn stars and non-porn stars go. Like if you work in porn, you have to get cleared by this one particular, it's not a hospital, but a health center. And they did like multiple tests on him. They all said that he had it. And he was like, "Well, that's not my signature. It's a phony test." Um, I mean, yeah, but Dr. Chow, you know, I mean, I live in West Hollywood, so I'm inundated with men on men having sex and getting it. So just because I've never personally met a female who um, doesn't have it doesn't mean they don't exist. Let me look up something real fast. You guys talk amongst yourselves. Uh, yeah. All right, let's see. Okay, Dr. Chow. This is from the. Let's see. Okay, I'm reading you this, Dr. Chow, from the hivinfo.nih.gov. According to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in 2021, 18% of the new HIV diagnoses in the United States were among women. This is their words, not mine, Dr. Chow. Well, I'm sure you do, but you can't discount what I'm reading too. The most common way that women get HIV is through sex with a male partner who has HIV. This stream's definitely getting demonetized. During vaginal or anal sex, a woman has a greater risk for getting HIV because, in general, receptive sex is riskier than insertive sex. So, I mean, we could probably go on for the next 7 hours. You show me something that says they don't get it through sex. I show you something that, so okay, now what factors put women at risk for HIV? Hold on, let me get a drink. I mean, I don't think YouTube's going to monetize it, but fuck it. Well, I don't mind talking about, I mean, I'd rather talk about this than the Dabbleverse. You guys want to talk about Kevin and Bob Levy? What factors put women at risk for yes, I'm the new media is Earl Skakel's Earlverse. What if this was the stream that took me over the top? Having anal or vaginal sex with a person who has HIV without a condom or taking medicines like PrEP to prevent HIV. Anal sex is the riskiest type of sex for getting HIV because the rectum's lining is thin and may allow HIV to enter the body. Um, Sharing injection, which is what Dr. Chow is saying, such as needles with a person who has HIV. So, well, but I mean, Dr. Chow, now it's this website's tainted because they get money. Like, Um, like I could probably find another website that says what you're saying, and I find another website that says what I'm saying. I mean, you basically said that women can't get HIV through straight sex. I'm disagreeing with you. So, let me go on another website. Um, Here's Office on Women's Health.gov. 1 in 4 people living with HIV in the United States is a woman. Um, so now your thing is they only can get it through intravenous drug use. Well, I'm on 2 websites that just said they could. I'm not saying I don't believe you, Dr. Chow. I mean, you are a doctor after all, but you just said Google it, and I did, and I'm coming up with an opposite viewpoint of yours. Uh, I'm not saying I'm right, Dr. Chow. I'm just saying, you said Google it. I just Googled, and the first 2 things that popped up were taking an opposite view of yours. Uh, yeah, but that doesn't, listen, if you don't think there's a notable female who has it, uh, look at Rock Hudson. He had, uh, you know, he was gay, but didn't tell anybody because it would ruin his image. Um, who was the actor who died of AIDS? Dak Rambo. He held it. Now I realize he's a dude, but he withheld Ray Sharkey from the Idol Maker. Um, so you know they withheld that they had it because they knew if they said, "Hey, I have it," they ain't gonna work anymore. So I have no proof that there's a famous actress who has it, but I wouldn't doubt it if they did. Um, well, but find the patient zero, Dr. Chow, and then we can have this discussion again. And we can have it for the next 10 times. I don't know. Hey, well, look, we're 52 minutes in. 16 likes. Thank you very much. This is the Earl Skakel Medical Hour. So, oh, yeah, I mean, I can only, you asked me to name one woman, and I'm saying the Mark Wallace girl, the porn girl, um, who got it through sex with him. So, I don't remember her name to be honest with you, but and there's been now you could see there's other women in porn who've passed away from that disease, but maybe they were intravenous drug users. But this one particular girl in the Mark Wallace documentary was not because they went over that. But who knows? Well, none of us are Leo Gunn. Dr. Leo Gunn in the house, a streaming legend. Yeah, tell me about it. But you know what? I like having this conversation. It's been a not necessarily a fun stream, but doesn't it beat talking about the Dabbleverse? Like, to be honest. So, you know, is it the most happy-go-lucky stream in the world? Probably not. So, well, you'd think I would be an expert given the neighborhood I live in. Um, and I don't go to those portable AIDS trucks. The last thing I'm going to do is be told I have AIDS from some guy in a sandal. Um, yeah, we do keep it real. And I'm not one of these guys who has a stream where I'm right, you guys are wrong. I'm open to all opinions. I mean, how many times have we talked politics in this stream? I don't tell you guys who to vote for. I don't tell you guys how to think. Um, I mean, it's a fascinating when you delve into the origins of it to now. I mean, people are still getting it. And then you have my neighbor, not in this building, but in the building I came from. He is partners with a very famous person in the beauty world. I don't want to blow them up, but his husband is a legend in the beauty world. Um, but my friend, he's had full blown AIDS for 25 years. And although he's very weak, he's alive, and his legendary husband doesn't have it. And they've had, sex in the last 25 years. So it's still, um, well, it's funny when I had, no, I'm not going to tell you guys who it is, but like, um, he is someone that's on the level of Vidal Sassoon. It is not Vidal Sassoon, but I'm telling you right now, it's um, someone on that nature. So, it's just we're not discussing names. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm just saying that, that's a you think that, how could, and I think they've been together for probably 30 to 35 years. Um, and, he's had it for that long. First it was HIV, and then it became what it became. And one partner has it, one partner doesn't, and they are sexually active. So it's like, that's another kind of fly in the ointment. No, we don't talk about that person in here. Tom Segura, Siegfried and Roy. I mean, it's a solid guess, but they weren't really in the beauty era. They were in the lion abuse sector. So I mean, look at Liberace. He had it, but then his lover Scott Dorson didn't. So like, it's weird who gets it and who doesn't, and uh, you know, yeah, me neither, William. But that's the thing, that sometimes you don't know. I mean, I've been very lucky in that regard. I've never had a sexual disease, not even like nothing. So, but I'm pretty selective in that regards to my life. We'll go a few more minutes, guys, and then I'm gonna go work out. And didn't one of them? I think one of them got their face mauled off by a lion. I mean, what do you expect? You abuse these poor fucking animals. At one point, they're gonna have a bad day, and so that's why I didn't really feel sorry for the guy who got taken out by the lion or tigers. You're right, Dr. Chow. You abuse these animals, you're gonna get what's coming to you. It's like horses. You fucking beat these horses with a whip to make them go faster. They're gonna stumble, and then you're gonna get trampled by them. Um, so it's just um, it's the way the animal world works. I do have a spot this week at the Comedy Store. Thank you for reminding me. 12:15 Saturday night. We don't talk about Ray in here, Dr. Chow. We don't do that. Siegfried and Ray. Hello. Who's the best Vegas magician? I mean, I like a Penn and Teller, but there's also David Copperfield. There's Chris Angel. I'm not really a big magician guy, so I don't really care. But someone make a meme of Siegfried and Ray. You can have that for free. That's my contribution to the Dabbleverse. Um, but people, the Magic Castle out here in LA is a big fucking time thing. So hit the like button on your way out, please. No, I don't like watching magic, so it's just not my thing. I get antsy sitting down. I don't wanna watch performers. I wanna perform, so that's why I never watch comedy. Even when I'm at the comedy store about to go up, I just hang out in the green room. I don't wanna know what the comic's doing before me, so, um, I don't wanna hear another comic's jokes, and then that might affect what I'm gonna say and whatnot, so, I'm not sure on that, William. I think they've had, um, straight stand-up, but, I don't know. I've never been there. I know you have to get real dressed up to go there, so, 100%, I enjoyed it, you know, like, um, not every conversation is gonna be about AEW wrestling and hockey. Lois is, at her mama's house. She's on new medicine, which, me and Gail, split the cost of, and she's doing a little better. I mean, at this point, the cough's never gonna go away, but, yeah, good for you, AC/DC, good for you. We just try and make her comfortable and, you know, um, you do what we can do to extend her life by as much as we can. The heart murmur is what it is, that's never gonna get better. But like I said, I don't know how Gail walks her and whatnot, but when I walk her, she can do a 2-hour walk like nobody's business. So, DC, are you smuggling aliens into Cook County? Oh, you guys see, remember when William Zoom and ACDC didn't get along and now they're chilling, man. That's what I love about this stream. So where is Doom? He usually chimes in. I see Doom had a clip. He sniped me finally. I think Doom was getting upset that I was saying he can't snipe me because I talk about stuff nobody likes. But Doom finally clipped me. Good for you, Aaron Butler. Good for you. That's a keeper. That's the kind of girl you want to take home to your mama. So, Doom was here. Hello. See, you guys are all. We'll bring it back full circle. I'm trying to think who I've known. I knew a few. Um, a few of my mom's friends, hairdressers and whatnot from back in the 70s. They died of the disease. So, but let's not end on AIDS talk. I mean, this has been a heavy stream for once. Um, I know I saw that when I got sniped or when I got uh, spammed in my stream. I think Doom told me once, "I don't, clip you because you talk about stuff nobody cares about." So I thought I actually said, "I think you're giving me a compliment." Eddie F, one of the greats in the LA, comedy world, always headlining the La Jolla Comedy Store. I believe Eddie Ift is in Australia right now. I've done his Talking Shit podcast several times. Eddie Ift, he's one of the good ones. I know him and Zamak don't get along, but I get along with him, so I'll just leave it at that. We're gonna go one more minute, guys. One more minute in the Earlverse. We got some legends in the stream. Leo Gunn on the MLC favorites. Earl, what's the difference between jokes and jokes? I mean, jokes are well written, 3 to 4 minute soliloquies, and jokes are just like quick one liner types. Listen, there's nothing wrong with either style. Like, I actually tell stories on stage. I don't really showcase that in this stream, but I'm long-winded, but I love being long-winded, but when I'm at the comedy store on Saturday nights, I got to do an hour, so I just can't do jokes. Like, hey, do you think OJ ever watched Dexter and thought that's how I should have done it? I mean, that joke took under 5 seconds. Hello. Yeah, Charlie Sheen does. Absolutely. Well, I don't know if AIDS is the best topic, but So, I don't know, I don't keep up with their feuds, Dr. Chow, if the feud doesn't involve me, I don't care. So, I'm not really heavily invested in it. Well, I mean, Charlie is a guy I don't know if he ever did, intravenous drugs. I would guess he has. I mean, when you're a famous actor from the mid '80s and on, you've done everything once, and in his case, probably twice. So, but he might have the Magic Johnson kind. But let's not end on HIV. Although that is one of my favorite roast battle jokes I've ever done. I was battling this gay comic, and I was like, "Man, the only way you won't get HIV is if they take those 3 letters out of the alphabet. Hello, lady." So yeah, Charlie, was big time Charlie. Let's go visit my friend Charlie. I wonder whatever happened to the other kid. Elon Mitchell Smith's friend in that. I think that might have been his only movie. And I think the hot teen in that, the one who Elon Mitchell Smith had a crush on, I don't recall her being in anything after that movie. Um, and then look at a guy like Keith Richards. Like, I mean, what? I mean, he said you did. I mean, he used needles. So when you look at Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, you don't think they fucking took a little white line fever? Let's see. Oh, was she? I'm trying to think of her name. Let's see what that girl's name was. Let's look up. Let's end on the wildlife talk. I mean, we got to get away from this HIV talk. Let's see here. Wildlife, 1984. I mean, she was kind of cute. Let's see. Let's go on IMDb. Let's look up whole cast. I forget her name in the movie, but Donna. What was her name in the movie? Hmm. Zoom, help me out here. I mean, I'm gonna assume she's pretty high up in the cast. Let's look up Susan Rennell. I mean, that kind of looks like her. Hmm. Let me see here. Now, Earl, I never really listened to Grandmaster Flash. Let's look up the Wikipedia page. I don't. Let's see here. Plot summary. Hart Bachner. I'm trying to think. Zoom, help me out here. What was that girl's name in the wildlife? I don't know if she had a name, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, Susan Blackstone is Donna. She's pretty high up in the credits. Well, I don't want to bore you guys with that. I mean, I'm assuming there's 2 girls in high up in the credits who it could be. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't remember. I mean, she had big eyes. I remember. I mean, definitely should have. What animal? Does Eddie ever remind me of an animal? Probably a chipmunk. I mean, The Wildlife, such a good movie, a fantastic cast. But for some reason, it just didn't hit. It's like Fast Times becomes a cultural icon hit, and I believe I'm just remembering this. Nancy Wilson was in both. Nancy Wilson was the hot girl in the car when Judge Reinhold's in the pirate outfit, and Nancy Wilson in The Wildlife was Hart Bachner's wife. So I just put that together. So, isn't this much better to end on than, yeah, so that's, I kind of forgot about that. Let's see, Doom clip this conversation. Um, Let me see. I mean, that girl, I think I could pick out what that girl would look like, um, because she had these big eyes. So let's go on the Wildlife's IMDb page. Now, there weren't that many women in the film, so let me see. Susan Rennell has Donna. I don't really remember a Donna. And then Carrie Ann Warder. Let's see. Uh, I mean, it checks. Oh, 1963, so that can't be her. So I'm going to narrow it down to. I'm going to say Susan Rennell was that girl. Now let's do a quick scan of other females in the movie. Um, Beth McKinley as Robin, no picture. Sherilyn Fenn, but we all know who she is. So I'm going to say the girl we are trying to track down was Susan Rennell. Because let's see, that girl was probably about 15 in 1984. Let's see when Susan Rennell was born. She kind of got her eyes. She was born May 9th, but they don't give a year. Actors website. So that's going to be Zoom. This is a tough one. Last worked in 2017. Let's see, all her first role was 1981, so that kind of checks out. She was in The Facts of Life, 82 to 83. So I believe we are looking at Susan Rennell as the unnamed hot girl in the Wildlife. Simone White. Let's look at Simone White. I think in the picture, but who was Susan Rennell then in the movie? Because let me see. I mean, Susan Rennell is kind of high up in the credits. Simone White is Brenda. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, let's see when she was born. I mean, it checks out. She doesn't have a lot of credits. Simone White, Tiny Drop. There was a music video in 2018. So, okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, but I'm looking at Susan, and she's got those big eyes, which that girl would have. I think it's Susan Rennell. If you go on her page, that's an interesting one because now that I think about it, I don't recall her having a name, nor her boyfriend. If you watch the weird guy with the crew cut. Um, so interesting. Now, I don't remember who Jenny Wright worked with, but I'd much rather end the stream on this than the previous talk. So this has been another episode of the Earlverse. I'd like to thank you guys very much for making this. I don't know if I'd say it was a fun stream, but it was certainly an educational stream. Okay, Dick Rude. I mean, now I'm on a rabbit hole of the Wildlife cast. How do you know that, William Zoom? Let me see here. Dick Rude, what a great name. Um, Eddie. Okay, Eddie's friend, Robert Chestnut. I would think they would say Eddie's girlfriend in the wildlife. Let's look up. Maybe I could just Google that. I mean, Dr. Chow told me to do Eddie's girlfriend in wildlife. Uh, so, I mean, this is going to be a tough one to find. Um, okay, well, this is a homework assignment for someone in the stream tonight. Find out who the girl with no name was in the wildlife. Maybe I could get her on Inappropriate Earl. I mean, I'm sure she'd love to talk about a movie from 40 fucking years ago. So this has been Earl Skakel in the Earlverse. Thank you, William Zoom, ACDC, Dr. Chow, Leo Gunn, Ryan, Queen on Ross. We had some all stars in the stream tonight. Only 13, but 13 good ones. So we'll probably stream tomorrow night. Maybe, maybe not. Earl Skakel over now.